Hi everybody and welcome back. Alright, in this video, now we know how to move, scale and rotate parts, we're going to look at our first script. Now I just added these random parts in here last time, but you will notice up here that I have increased my version to 2. So if you haven't done that and you just continue on with the files, come up to File and then go to Save As, File and just Save As, and then change your number at the end and save it into your folder. Okay, so I've already done that. So we're going to look at scripts, our first script. So at the moment we won't do this in the workspace. We'll come down in Explorer window over here and find this item here called the Server Script Service and left click on it. Alright, so the Server Script Service runs on the server. Now, if you're not familiar with how things work with games, servers and clients, basically when you run a game, it runs somewhere in the world on one of Roblox's big computers. So everybody gets to look at that. What you see on your computer at home while you're playing a game, that's your computer and it's called the client. So they are separated by an invisible wall where some things work on the server and other things only work on your computer. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But for now, we're just going to work on the server. So if you left click on the Server Script Service, you'll see there's a button next to it, a little plus button. So left click on it and you'll have a list come up. Now, if you don't see script appear here, you can type into the search box at the top by starting to type with SC and it will find the item you're looking for and shorten the list. And we are looking for script. So when you see script, left click on script and it will add it into the Server Script Service. Now it's good practice to always name your scripts to represent perhaps what they are. So in this case, if you left click on your script and then left click again to change its name, we'll just call this My First Script. Alright, now we've changed the name here and you'll see it comes up as a tab up the top here. Alright, now you can close the tab for your scripts, but don't close the tab for your window, otherwise you'll close down the game. Okay, so always use this first one is the workspace, and if you want to open a script you can just double click on it and it will open back up and they will just tab along the top here. Alright, so here is our first lines of code. We have print and then some brackets with hello world inside, and you'll see that they are represented in different colors. So these colors mean things in Roblox Studio and we'll talk a little bit about what this is. So the hello world is in all programming languages usually the first thing you ever learn as a way to have the program show you what it can do. So with just this line in here without typing anything, we're going to come up to the top. Now we have a script tab up the top here that we're on. And you've got this big play button. So we don't need to play the whole game though. We just want to run the script at the moment. So on the drop down just below it, you'll see that there is a run. So simply click on run, and when it runs, down in your output window, you will see a message that comes up and it's hello world. And this gives us some information. So that print statement that we were looking at, that's what it does. It sends that message to this output window down the bottom. It gives us some other information that it's on the server and it's on line 3 of our script. So once we're finished running the script, you can click on the stop button up the top and we'll be returned back to our script. Now it says line 3 because I've moved the code down. Alright, so if I move down more and I was to run it, it would say it was line 5 now. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about what this means. So this blue word here is a keyword in programming, and it's a reserved word, which means it does something. Alright, and you can also you can quickly work out that what it does is it prints whatever inside these brackets as a string. So inside of these inverted commas here, whatever you put inside of these inverted commas is known as a string. So now if you wanted to make notes about what I'm talking about, we can use something in code that's called comments. So just above this, if you hit two minus signs in a row, you'll notice they get grayed out. And we can type, this is a comment. Now when we write comments in code, they don't mean anything. They're ignored by the computer when it runs. They don't take up any space or programming power, etc. But they are very useful to make notes about what's going on in your code, all right, to either explain it to someone else or to remember things for yourself later when you're writing your code. All right, so underneath we can say print, all right, is a reserved word. So, and it does something, all right, and we can put another comment here. So the two inverted commas like this, anything inside of these is a string, all right, and now a string is a data type, and we will talk more about this in future videos. All right, so anything inside of these is a string data type. Now we can print a message out to let us know what that is. If we type print underneath, you'll notice we get some helping text that applies and gives us some idea of what this item might do. Now if we open our brackets, what we're going to do is type in the word type. All right, so not type of at the moment, just type, and then another set of brackets. All right, and we're going to type the same thing in here. So type hello world. Right, so it should look like that. We've got a set of brackets on the outside with type and then this inside, and then we can run again and you'll see we have string come up. Now the other thing you'll see is that all these parts are falling over and rolling everywhere, and we'll get to that a bit later as to how to make them stick where they are, but for now we'll just continue with focusing on what's going on down here. Alright, so hello world, and it's a string. Now what we're going to do now is cause a couple of errors. Alright, now let's say I don't want this line here to run at all. I can also just comment that line out for now. So now we're just working with our print hello world. And I'm going to show you 4 errors that will come up. Now you might think, well, why do I want to do that? I said, well, because even the best programmers in the world will have errors. Everybody has errors, and if you don't know what they are or how to deal with them, then you get a bit lost, and some people get upset when they get errors, but it's just a natural, normal part of coding. So let's start off with an easy one to find down here. So we'll say easy to find. All right, so this is an error message. We're going to cause an error message. And we can select our line of text, so left click and drag over your text, and then Command or Control C, and then if you drop down a line underneath here, Command or Control V to paste it in. Alright, and the first error that we're going to create is to delete this end bracket off the end here. Alright, so you'll immediately notice we get a red line underneath. Now if I move my mouse or I click on it, there we go. You can see that we've got the, it's giving us an idea in this little box down underneath here of what we need to do to fix it. But for now, let's just run so we can see the error message. And there it is. We get this big glaring red error message that appears down the bottom. Now, it gives us information about what's wrong. So this first part tells us which scripts it's in. So my first script, and if we look at our script while it's running, you'll see down here it's got to line 11 and it expected a bracket, all right, to close the bracket at line 10. All right, so end of line. So line 11, it got down to here and it went, oh, I can't do anything else. So that's an easy one to find. So when you see this bracket, you can go, oh yeah, and there's a red line and you can see it. Alright, so that's an easy error to find and fix. Now we'll have a quick look at a slightly harder. It's pretty easy to find. Alright, the next one. So we'll say pretty easy to find. And once again, we'll take a copy of our print message and put it down here. Alright, so this time what we're going to do is we'll take out our inverted comma. Alright, so this time we've got print and then we're missing an inverted comma at the end here. So we'll clear this down here, it'll clear anyway, and we'll run this. Alright, this time we get a message that's saying a malformed string. Not as clear as the other one, telling us what to find. So let's click on stop and we can look at it, and it's saying line 13, so the error is in this line, a malformed string. Alright, and as you know, because we just the string has to have two ends to it, so this inverted comma and that inverted comma. Alright, so pretty easy to find, but only if you know what a malformed string is. Alright, so we'll comment that one out and we'll do a couple more. Alright, so this next one, which I'll do down below here. Alright, we'll say this one is a bit hard to find. Alright, so we'll take a copy again and we'll just put it down here. Alright, this time what we're going to do is change the P on print so it's no longer blue. Alright, and let's run this and see what it says. Alright, this time we have a look. Let's stop. This time we get a few lines we get an error and then these afterwards as well. So it's always best to go to the bottom and work backwards to have a quick look. So stack end, alright, line 16. Now you'll see that this comes up as like a hyperlink. So if you left click on that, it will actually take you to the line that's causing the problem. Alright, so it got to the end of this. However, the error up here is saying attempt to call a nil value. Now it's not really giving us any information that there's anything wrong with this over here, except the red line underneath, which is a pretty glaring error, and it's saying unknown global print. So we can say, oh, I see, it's not blue, so it's just treating this as something that it doesn't know what it is. All right, can be a bit harder to find when you have a lot of code and if you made a typo and did something like this. All right, so that one's a little bit harder to find. And we'll do one more down the bottom. So take a copy of this. All right, and this one, say, can be hard to find. All right, so we'll print this here, and this time what we're going to do is I'm going to take out that line, and we're going to just take out and just have the word hello in here. So just print and hello, and we'll also just comment out this line up the top here. So we're just looking at this. All right, and now we'll run, and now we didn't even get an error. There's no red line. It's simply telling us that on line 19, nil. All right, now nil, what nil means is nothingness. It means that it didn't really know what this was, but it wasn't an overall error either. Now if I move this, it says unknown global again, like it did before, because it just doesn't know what that was, so it's returned nil. Now when you get something like this, sometimes it can be hard to find these sort of errors. All right, so this exercise in this video was just to show you a little bit about how to look for these types of things. Most of the time you'll have this red line. However, you will encounter errors in your code as you progress that don't come up with red lines, and it's not as obvious. All right, but this should help you get used to having errors in your code, and that's perfectly fine while you're learning. Alright, so we can comment that one out, and we can move on to the next lesson. Alright, so before we go, let's increase our version now. So we'll click on File and Save As, and we'll increase it to number 3. We can close our script, and we are good to go for the next lesson, so I will see you there.